What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. I'm going to talk about some very key levels to watch for as time goes on, especially as we're seeing some new news involving Elon Musk and Tesla, not to mention some new developments on these charts. But just know that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends at the very end of March. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, I just want to mention that as you can tell, we're making lower highs and lower lows so far. Now, this morning, the market is gapping up just a bit, but notice that we have this tough resistance, and Tesla's not really doing the best of jobs at holding above 230 so far. So there's going to be a risk of us seeing some kind of downside move again. We'll see if we could hold the low of yesterday or not. If we can't, there's going to be a risk of us making further declines, right? When you're down 15% one day, there's still going to be momentum from the previous day that affects us. So it could be some kind of downside move coming. Now, what's happening is the first thing worth mentioning is that there's a lot of protests going on all across the United States and Manhattan, not to mention in Chicago and a bunch of different places. We're seeing, a lot of people outside of Tesla showrooms. A lot of people are also continuing to protest, be very political about Elon Musk. So that's not the best of news. There's also protests going on across Europe against Tesla, as we're seeing, lots of Teslas being boycotted. That's really affecting their sales, not the best of news. And then there was also an interview where Elon Musk said that, he has a lot of work when it comes to managing SpaceX, Tesla, and all these different companies, not to mention Doge. So, he said there's a lot of difficulty in doing that. Like, he's obviously not happy. He looked very worried about that. But if anything, he is standing up for what he believes in. I just want to say that it's very difficult for anyone, and this does lead to some concerns amongst these Tesla investors that, it's a lot on Elon Musk's plate, to manage Tesla, to manage Doge, and all these different things. And, it's very hard. So I just want to put that out there. This is what I'm seeing on a lot of headlines. There's a lot of fear because of this. Besides that, we're seeing more news coming out. I'm seeing lots of mainstream sources basically just like comparing the Chinese market with the American ones, talking about how BYD and these other companies are doing a little bit better and Tesla's struggling compared to them. So, these mainstream sources love to compare China with the US, so it's not really a surprise, at least thus far. Anyways, the big factor for the market would involve Donald Trump. He is once again not denying that there could be a recession this year under, even under his leadership. He mentioned it's going to be a very important uh, period of transition as his economic policies take effect. So keep that in mind. That's what Mr. Trump has been saying. There are a lot of recessionary fears that are still present, and I don't think the market is done yet, as there's still a lot of fears still within the markets. So with that being said, what's happening for today? Today is Tuesday, March 11th. Keep in mind that at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the JOLTS job openings and job quits report coming out. So look for some volatility once these job numbers come out for today. We'll see if this causes the market to pump or if we get a big rug pull. It depends on the numbers we get. And I also want to mention that the market may dip a little bit once we open, but we'll have to see if we can make a higher low compared to yesterday's low or not. I'll be watching that very closely, but look for volatility at 10 a.m. In terms of news, there's been a lot of like negative news going on involving Tesla. There's a lot of like boycotts and etc. We're also starting to see other changes that are taking place. We're seeing like some CEOs changing. Look like Nissan CEO and factors like that around the world. Besides that, not really too much is coming out for earnings. We just have like a lot of retail, like Kohl's and a few more. Oracle, if anything, is still rising despite their Q3 miss. Just keep that in mind. We saw the share price making an interesting move. They did miss on expectations when it comes to their fiscal 2025. Revenue is very close to expectations as well, but they did miss expectations when it comes to their guidance. So just keep that in mind. So, anyways, let's focus on the charts from this point on. So, looking at Tesla, there's a very crystal clear downtrend that's been going on so far. We attempted some kind of rebound move, but now we're going to likely see a dip here. So watch 220. If that does not hold us, we could be revisiting 215. And if that fails us, I'm looking for 212, then 205. So watch those levels, followed by that 200 area. So those are going to be your main supports to watch for. The question remains, will Tesla dip and break this low? If we break this low, I think we could be dipping all the way down below like 210 if we end up losing the low from yesterday at this 215 area. If not, we could attempt to make an equal or higher low. So I'm looking for some kind of like downside move like this to see if we try to bounce off of this. But if we lose this, we're going to likely continue to dip like this. So watch that for Tesla. There's still a risk of a further decline. The reason I'm a little bit less certain is it also depends on these job numbers that come out at like 10 o'clock a.m. But I do anticipate some downside that's still coming. We might be revisiting these lows. For SPY is on a downtrend. We're making lower highs and lower lows over and over again. We tried to gap up. Now we're still rejecting. So there's still weakness here. So from what I'm seeing, if it depends if we could hold 560. If that does not hold, we could be dipping back down towards 555. And if that fails us, 550 is going to be our next target. And we'll see if we bounce off of that. That's going to be potentially the downside move we see, depending on the jobs numbers. If you're bullish, you want to see us kind of dip here and make a higher low. Don't lose 555, hold that. Then we could try some kind of rebound. So it depends. Can we make a higher low before we see some kind of like rebound move like that? We could dip to above 555 before we end up getting that balance. But if we lose 555, I think we dip to about 550. Either way, there's a little bit of downside likely coming, so be prepared for that just to be safe. That's the most likely possibility. The QQQ might be revisiting its lows. It's looking weak here. It could be looking for just a 468 if that fails us. 465 or below could be coming. So look for a downside move. We'll see if we bounce off the low, if not a little bit lower first. So keep that in mind. For the IWM, the same thing is going on. We might be dipping towards 200 flat. We'll have to see if that holds. If it holds, we could attempt some kind of rebound move back up to like 203. If we lose 200, we're looking for a bigger dip towards the lows. ES is still technically on a downtrend. We might be visiting essentially 5,600 today. If that fails us, we're looking for essentially 55.85, and eventually back down to 55.50. Watch those two supports and look for a little downside move. And we'll see if we end up holding above or below the 55.50 to 55.85 area. So keep that in mind. For NQ, we're technically on a downtrend. We're making lower highs and lower lows. So just know that as we're dipping right here, we had 19,500 as our resistance area. As we're rejecting, they're looking for move down closer to about 19,250. So we'll see if we end up coming back down here. We'll have to see if we also try to rebound. But for now, we're making lower highs and lower lows. So just keep that in mind. For Bitcoin, we're also forming a very, very nice looking reversal structure. We want to see this break 82,500 to really start pushing. Otherwise, we're still making lower highs and lower lows. But I do think there's some upside potential if we break on Nvda. Keep in mind that we're also making lower highs and lower lows on this. However, you want to see it reclaim like 111 to bounce. If we can't reclaim that, we're going to likely continue to decline to the low 100s. So be careful. It's still technically bearish. Apple is very weak right now. You want to see this get back above like 230. If not, this will likely continue to dip to about 222. So watch 225 and 222 as our supports. Coin is on a downtrend. I am seeing an attempt to get back up towards this imbalance. It might try to get up to about 190, but then it could reject again and just turn back down towards our lows. So it depends if it could hold above 190 or not. Otherwise, it's still bearish. Amazon's trying to base at 190. I think we might retest the low 190s and we'll see if we bounce. You want to see it get back above 200 to really bounce, but I do think there's going to be a risk of the low 190s. For Meta, we're on a downtrend, so we could be dipping back down towards 585. We'll have to see if we bounce off that or not. If we could hold above and close above 600, that's going to be a good sign. Might be a small downside move coming towards like 590 before this attempts a rebound. This is showing a little bit more strength. It depends if we can make a higher low or not. I'll be watching for that, but there's going to be a small decline coming. Microsoft as well, small decline, might be retesting like 378, but if we can make a higher low compared to like 376, it could just be a dip in a balance. And we want to see it get back above like the 380s. Google could also be dipping back down to about 165. I'll have to see if it rebounds here. So I have to give it some time. Anyways, as far as the market's going, the VIX is holding up for now. This does look like it might try to bounce a bit as the market declines a bit. So there's going to be a risk of more downside for Tesla, in my opinion, looking at this chart. We were not able to hold above 230 so far, so look for some downside when we open, and we'll see if the low from yesterday holds or not. Keep in mind the JOLTS numbers come out at 10 a.m., so we'll see how it goes. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update. Until then, take care and peace out.